Hi, I'm Justin Wang, and this is my final research presentation. Jean-Henri Fragonard was born in the provincial city of Grasse, France. He would follow the traditional path of becoming a history painter by attending the École Royale des Élèves Protégés in Paris. Later, in 1756, he went to Italy and trained in the French Academy in Rome until 1761 and was extremely adept in the Baroque style. And although he was adept in historic paintings, he chose to avoid royal commissions to accept commissions from private collectors. He would paint many masterpieces, such as a series of large panel paintings for Madame du Barry. Many of his works had themes of love, eroticism, secularism, as well as bright colors. While he held a spotlight for most of his life, after the French Revolution his popularity declined and he worked in administrative positions at the Louvre until his death in 1806 in Paris. Although he died a relatively quiet death, Fragonard's legacy, such as masterpieces such as The Swing, shows us how society was changing during the Rococo period in 18th century Europe to become more secular in thought. Jean-Henri Fragonard trained at many institutes, such as the École Royale des Élèves Protégés in Paris or the French Academy in Rome after discovering a passion for art at a young age. He studied under famous painter Francois Boucher before he had any formal training. He used oil, chalk, and more as his mediums, and he tended to focus on creating pictures and natural scenery in his work. Choosing to paint for rich collectors instead of the state, Fragonard painted in the Rococo style, appealing to his customers who were aristocrats. And since Rococo style art features themes of luxury and eroticism, they were extremely popular with his French customers. Through these paintings he was able to make a great living from his rich customers, many of whom were aristocrats or tax collectors. His most famous work was called The Swing, which contained all themes of Rococo-style art, therefore making it not very surprising that this was his most well-known piece. In Fragonard's work, Young Girl Reading, the girl depicted is comprised of a masterful blend of brushstrokes that mimics real-life textures. The girl's hair is a wave pattern, and then it waves upwards as her hair goes upwards as well. The rose clothing on her neck is also done extremely well with noticeable ripples going through it. Her dress is textured with creases that a real dress would have, and the same could be said for the pillow she is leaning on. In line with most of his work, he chooses to use light hues for a more pleasant and playful tone. This piece was obviously created for one of his rich clients, as during that time most educated women were part of the upper classes, and this woman's attire of the ribbed collar, expensive yellow dress, and cuffs showed off her wealth and her elegance. Fragonard captures the inherent elegance of upper-class women in this piece, which is one reason for his popularity with the upper-class people during the 18th century. The second of Fragonard's work I will discuss is called Blind Man's Bluff. It is inspired by the actual game Blind Man's Bluff, where someone is blindfolded and others taunt the blindfolded person and try to avoid them. Here, Fragonard spins the game into more of a flirtatious situation where the man is trying to court the woman. You can notice the two of them noticeably blushing while they are with each other. Also, the blindfold is not completely covering her eyes, so she is just merely acting and going along with the game, which shows her interest in the man. Also, just like most of his pieces, this one contains many depictions of natures and flowers surrounding the two figures, which supports the playful nature of this piece. He uses natural colors that occur in nature to mimic the actual appearance of what he depicted, and overall the colors complement each other very nicely, with a striking red dress being in the middle and blue sky in the background, two colors that go very well with each other on the color wheel. This piece was especially popular with 18th century French people because the idea of marrying for love was something that was relatively new at the time, and this piece was often discussed in their salons or places to talk to each other about topics such as art or philosophy. Transitioning from the 17th to the 18th century, art was very different. 17th century art was very dark and had meaningful historical or allegorical figures depicted, while in 18th century art they were replaced by ordinary people, making art more relatable to those viewing it. Fragonard does a really good job making art relatable by tackling topics such as love or playfulness in his works. One of his paintings that really displays this is called The Swing. Here, a woman is depicted swinging without care of the man under her, who is peeking under her dress. This goes against the norm, as this would be classified as unladylike or undignified. And the same would go for the man, as his behavior would not be befitting that of a gentleman. Moreover, a bishop is behind her, pushing her, and swinging her forward all while this is going on. While having the act of the man picking up her skirt would already be classified as going against society's values of how men and women should conduct themselves at the time, having the bishop there is like having the cherry on top to go against present norms. Fragonard also uses lighting coming from the sun to highlight what is happening and hide things such as the bishop, as once you notice a bishop, the ideas presented make a lot more sense. And going back to my thesis of Fragonard challenging society's beliefs, and in turn opening more secular thoughts, he does just that in this painting. In conclusion, Fragonard was a leader in the Rococo time period. He challenged conservative societal beliefs by including themes of eroticism and unfaithfulness in his paintings. Moreover, because people in his time period were more open-minded, especially in France with the salons for talking about philosophy and art, many were able to appreciate his art. He depicted women being able to read, playful flirting, and inappropriate acts in front of a bishop in just some of his works. And at the same time, he had the skill to create a very vivid and detailed picture, as from when he was young, he'd always been a genius in creating whatever he set his mind to. Overall, Fragonard had a profound impact on 18th century France by promoting secular thought. Also, when looking back at history today, we can see just how the thoughts of the people of the past evolved as time went on. And comparing Fragonard's 18th century works to 17th century works, we're able to see just that. Therefore, not only did Fragonard influence those around him while he was alive, but also those in the future whom he left a lasting legacy through his collections of masterpieces. These are my photo citations, and then my actual citations for information, including 2 books. Thank you.